Hey, this is DJ. This is Kaz. We're Buried Above Ground, and this is Speak of the Devil podcast.
Greetings from Podcastville. Today is July 15th, 2020. We are still, I don't know, are we in quarantine, lockdown? We are in the middle of a pandemic is what we are in the middle of, but as a result, that's why I have not been broadcasting in a while, because there's just not been very much news happening on any of the lovely topics that I like to talk about. But tonight we got a couple that I feel like maybe we should definitely highlight and mention. So let's get right into it. First, I'd like to talk a little bit of music. First and foremost, oh my gosh, I'm telling you guys, like, if you have any inkling toward liking metal or whatever, please check out the Lamb of God self-titled CD, Lamb of God. I believe it's like their 7th studio release or something like that. And oh my gosh, I'm telling you, it's the best album that I've ever heard, like front to cover. Like I know like some of the older ones have like more classic hits and everything, but man, this album, oh my God. The drumming is just mind-boggling. The guitars are so fucking heavy. I mean, God, I know that they're the masters of like using Mesa boogies and all that stuff. But man, I'm telling you, on this record, the tone is just it's the God tone. It's almost like that old adage, like the Hetfield God tone. They have tapped into this on this record, so cheers to that, because it's an amazing record. My favorite track on the record is Resurrection Man, only because it's the slowest one on the album, and I can actually kind of try to keep up with it, when I'm jamming along with it on my own guitar. But, man, I mean, front to cover, though, there's not a song that is not great. They're all amazing. So, highly, highly recommended. Lamb of God. So, the only other thing that there is really going on in music right now is Metallica announced that I think on August 28th they'll release S&M 2, where they filmed last year with another version of San Francisco Symphony. It's interesting. I mean, I saw a little bit of some of the clips or whatever. But, for me, being such kind of an old school, just fanboy of all them, like, the original 1999, S&M 1 with Michael Kamen has just always been more of a, something that's just resonated more, because it was something that Michael wanted to do. He approached them and, had worked with the Rolling Stones and Bob Dylan and all these people, and kind of like he created that idea of rock and symphony. And I'm not saying that S&M 2 isn't good or won't be good, but I'm just saying that you gotta at least acknowledge what came before that. And obviously Michael Kamen is no longer with us as well, so rest in peace to him. And I just love S&M 1, but looking forward to S&M 2 when it comes out in late August, I believe the 28th. So put that on your Spotify or YouTube or whatever calendars, or don't listen to it at all, but I will be. So moving on, to video games, which is a big reason why I wanted to do this podcast now. I finally played something that is worthy of mentioning, and it is Ironman Vr on PlayStation 4 Pro. Oh my God! I mean, you want to talk about, every time you've seen from Iron Man 1 all the way to Endgame, every time you see that like little HUD go up in the movies, and that he's in the screen or whatever, it's like that's what this game is. That's what it does for you. Like it opens up, the eyes light up, and it's burn, and then you're in it, and then when you move your head around, it's exactly like the movie look. No nausea whatsoever. You're using the move controllers just like your thrusters. The only thing I'll say, and it's probably just more of me, is that when you're using your thrusters, if you double tap them, then you use your boosters or whatever, and sometimes you're in some places where you need to like gently go into some place. So I'm trying to fly gently, and then I try to tap, and if you hit it tap, then it's like all of a sudden you boost, and you like boost, crazy way. But that's more of a user error than game error. And yes, after playing it, like all the other reviews have said, I will agree that the load times are just horrendous. And I know there's been a patch that came out trying to give like more like tips and stuff, and you can play around like when you're waiting and stuff like that, but it's just what is really annoying about the load screens to me is that you'll sit there in the load screen and it'll get to 100%, and then it clears, and then it'll go to another black screen, completely black, and that I've timed it takes another 20 to 30 seconds. Like, it should just all load in the loading screen, and then as soon as it says it's 100% and you should start. Might as well just put that extra 20 seconds back into the front end of the loading screen, because putting it on the back end when it's a black screen, that's when it really gets annoying, because you're like, all right, you said it was 100% and I'm still sitting here waiting to load. So, but other than the loading, honestly, I have to say it's the most interactive, intense. It's basically like an arcade rail shooter, but still, you do get to fly around the environment as much as you want. You definitely feel like Iron Man, like in the movies, when you're in Malibu and Tony's, room and everything, in his office. It's great. It gives you a perfect feeling of all the Iron Man films that we all saw. So on terms of aesthetics and playability and all that stuff, they nailed it. So if we have to suffer for, with some long load times as a result, I'm willing to deal with that. But it is really long, because you'll go from seeing the moments where you're just super intense, like literally sweating, shooting down all this stuff, and then it's like you finish the mission, and then you gotta wait for like 3 minutes to get back to the garage, and then back to another place, and it just breaks the immersion when you have to wait that long. And at first I didn't think it was that bad, but the deeper I've gotten to the chapters, yeah, there's loading on everything. So. But it is what it is. We're at the end of a generation, and they're pushing it to the max. So, to get that kind of quality that, when you're actually playing the game, which is awesome, yeah, you're going to have some load screens, or load time, so whatever. So, yes, I highly recommend it. I'd say 9 out of 10, man. You can't go wrong. The only reason I wouldn't give a 10 out of 10 is just because of the load times. And pushing even harder, and we haven't seen any videos or anything. We've only seen a confirmed rumor that Vader Vr is actually coming out this summer for PlayStation VR, which was actually before only on Oculus. And it was kind of rumored that it was just going to be an Oculus exclusive, but in the end of the day, it is actually now coming on PS4. Can't be more excited about all 3 chapters, in one package. They haven't announced prices or anything like that. And then on top of that, yes, we also have, Squadrons or the whatever the dogfighting is going to be on Star Wars. It's going to come out, which is also going to be 100% playable in VR, cross-play. It's crazy. So it's in the next couple of months, we're going to get some really, really cool VR content that is Star Wars related that I know everybody's clamoring about. And I would say, you know, if they haven't really announced a VR for the PS5, but, you know, it's definitely something that is wanted and needed. And I think that there's enough of a community now that, you know, will buy it and will, you know, keep the community thriving. Like it may not be as big as the base with, you know, the regular system, but you know, if you actually get a chance to play some PSVR games that you know don't get you motion sickness or anything, I swear it is one of the coolest, most immersive experiences in video games that you can have. I mean, it just is. I mean, you'll be tickled pink the first time you play a game that's like really cool, like a car game or something, where you're sitting there looking around, or a Star Wars game, like when you're sitting there in the cockpit of an X-Wing or a TIE fighter. So it's going to be really cool, and I think that launches in October or something like that for the Squadrons game or whatever it's called for Star Wars. But yeah, and then let's wrap it up with wrestling. And you know, another reason why I haven't really been podcasting in like over a month and a half, 2 months, is because, you know, just like all this other stuff, I mean, it's been slow news, and really the only news that's coming out of wrestling is that, you know, WWE was, you know, doing a lot of their stuff in Florida, and now as of right now, on July 15th, Florida is one of the hot spots for the virus. And, you know, a lot of WWE, you know, staff and wrestlers have tested positive for the virus. So at this point, I think they were like videotaping some stuff down there in the Performance Center and then putting it up on USA. And then the pay-per-views were live, and I think that's where a big part of the problem came, is they had a live pay-per-view and they allowed like some family and friends for whatever reason to be in the background. And, you know, the cases spiked, and now they're pretty much just like a lot of places in Florida where they're just completely shut down. And who knows when we'll, you know, actually see some more new content. I mean, I guess they filmed a lot of it, so we'll have content for a while. But we don't know when the film content will end and how, you know, when they'll actually get back to doing anything. And I think AEW is in the same boat, and there's really no wrestling promotions right now that are doing anything. So in terms of that, I mean, there's not much to talk about. You know, SummerSlam is supposedly still going to happen, but if SummerSlam happens, it's going to be in, you know, the Performance Center in a closed set, and it's, you know, it's just a bad situation. I know they want to keep content rolling, but it might be better just to stop right now, especially, you know, everything that's happening with the outbreak. But because, you know, it's not fun if people are sick. I mean, that's not what we want. So, you know, when it's safe to watch wrestling and be in there again, that's when we want to do it. So maybe that, you know, they should just show some old. They've got probably 100 years worth of footage that they could roll so many cool like old matches on. So that would be my suggestion until everything calms down. But in the meantime, that's it. I don't know if this is episode, I think it must be episode 42, 40, whatever. But you know, in the middle of a pandemic, does it really matter? Not really. So we will see you on the next Speak of the Devil podcast. See ya.